with 3 letters and stuff like that. The sources of information are all liars, but they play a part that the Most High have determined for a specific purpose, and we're going to read what that purpose is and what part they play. So that's why we're going to Revelation chapter 16, and we're going to get y'all into our Josephus reading, but I'm answering a couple of questions, okay? So I'm yet to I'll tell you the verse. In chapter 16, hold on. 11. Yeah, what's it? Okay, listen up. In chapter 16, we're going to read verses 12 through 14, okay?
Okay. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
Now listen, now this goes along with what is also written in Revelation chapter 9, where this is the sixth vial. But in chapter 9, it speaks of either it was the 6th seal or the 6th trumpet. And when that seal or trumpet was broken or blown, the Most High tells you also that this activity, it says, loose the spirits that are bound in the great. Listen, we're going to bounce back and forth between the two of them. So before we get ahead of ourselves here, Amayatazah, go to chapter 9, okay? I want to just kind of draw this parallelism and show you what's really taking place and what and how media outlets are being used. So Amayatazah, let me see. It's going to be, in this one, it's going to be verse 13. We're going to read verses 13 through 16. This chapter 9, verses 13 through 16, goes with Revelations chapter 16, verses 12 through 14. So we'll start off here because this one offers up the information in not as much a detail. So we'll start off with the general first. Go ahead, Art.
Revelation chapter 19 and verse 13. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Now I'm going to tell you this. So when it says the 6th, this is the 6th angel with a trumpet. The one that we read about in chapter 16 has a vial, but they both represent, when we talk about the 6 or 7 seals, 7 vials, 7 trumpets, you're speaking to each trumpet or each seal or each vial represent a period in time in which certain events are prophesied to take place. And they're not always chronological, meaning the things that happened in the first trumpet preceded those in the second. You'll actually find the 2nd trumpet or the 2nd seal coincides the events that's taking place simultaneously in the 6th seal, or the 6th seal happened a little bit before. I'll make my point. I'll illustrate that later. Yes, Daria.
And most I just does that because he wants he's setting it up so only if you're diligent, you'll get the understanding.
Right. In other words, you can't get caught up in the chronology of the number of the seal, the trumpet, or the vial. Oh, this is number 1, so it happened before. No, it's just the events, and each seal or trumpet or vial represents a series of events that have been prophesied that have to unfold between any specific period of time. So in this 6th one, what is he announcing? He's saying, loose the 4 angels in verse 14 that are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now he's going to tell you what the purpose, because this event began, in other words, in a manner in which it could be actually chronicled It began in 1991. Yatazan, do me a favor and put up a map, a modern day map of the Euphrates River. Just put modern map so that it's not biblical, because I want the brothers to see what country those brothers that's in the military that been deployed out there already know. The country that the Euphrates runs through is Iraq. And so it's letting us know what's taking place, that the angels that are responsible in that region of the world were prophesied to be activated for a certain reason. And this is the reason. While he's getting that, we got it already. Now, if we end up not making it to Josephus, y'all don't hold it against me, okay?
No problem, brother.
All right. Now look at this, look at the great river Euphrates. This is the one that's highlighted in the darker blue. It runs through Iraq, it runs through Syria, and it finalizes and forks in Turkey. That one that's to the right or to the east of it is the Tigris. Look at it. Now, let me say this. Now, let's, keep that up and continue to read. Read verse 15, please.
Revelation chapter 9 and verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men.
Now stop right there. So when it says that period of time, you got to go backward. The Most High is saying that in a certain year, in a designated year, there is a designated month in which there is a designated day, in which there is a designated hour where the third part of men are going to be destroyed. Now, when it says slave, it's talking about the mankind biblically is divided into 3 categories. You have the sons of the wicked. Let's start general. You have the sons of men. We all are born of men. That's what that phrase means. When it says sons of men, it means anyone who is born of a man, anyone who can be traced back to a paternal, not the mother, it's talking about the father. Christ referred to himself as the Son of Man because he could be traced back to Abraham, to Adam through Joseph, his father. That's what Son of Man means. So when it says the third part of the Son of Man, the Son of Men are divided into 3 categories. So of the sons of men, of all of those on earth that are born of men, you have 3 categories. And they are the sons of the wicked, which are Esau. They are the sons of the righteous, which is Jacob. And then you have this general sons of men, which is the combine of all the other Gentiles, all the other nations. So it is set up. Shalom, brother. It is set up.
What was the third one?
The third one, brother, is the sons of men, meaning all of the other Gentile nations, because Esau's a Gentile also, you know that. But of the Gentiles, or of the sons of men, he is classified as the sons of the wicked. Now, let me say this. I'm going to source that. That's Malachi chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, okay? We're not going to read it. I'm just sourcing it so that you can know. The scriptures tell you about Esau, and it says, Jacob have I loved, and Esau what? Have I hated? Though Esau said, we are impoverished, we will return. I'm paraphrasing that verse 4. Whereas Esau said, we are impoverished, and we shall return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord, he shall build, but the Lord, it says, but I shall throw down. And they shall call them, meaning the rest of the world is going to call Esau, it says the border of wickedness. All right. Yeah. So that's how you know who are the sons of the wicked. And then that's backed up in Revelation. I'm sorry, that's backed up in Matthew chapter 13 in the parable of the wheat and the tare. Master, didn't you sow wheat? Then whence cometh wheat this tare? What does he say? He says the tares are the children of the wicked one. And the devil is he who sown them. So the point I'm trying to show you is the scriptures let you know that there is a seed of wicked And that seed is Esau. Yes, W.
I gotta say this, bro. I was looking at this documentary online, you know, video, YouTube, whatever. They said J. Edgar Hoover, they say he was black, quote unquote, right?
A bunch of fucking assholes. He was an Edomite faggot, but go ahead.
He wasn't eating my faggot, but his dad slept with a black woman, right? So
His dad slept with a black woman, but what was his dad?
the Edomite. He's an Edomite.
Okay, so I don't give a shit about his pigment.
Yeah, but
That's what I'm trying to. People be talking this stupid shit. They talk about Alexander Dumas, right? He looked black, but his daddy was a white general, a contemporary of Napoleon. He wasn't a black. He might have looked like a black man, but he was an Edomite. Talking about Alexander Dumas. Bob Marley the same.
just like Prince.
Well, Prince's daddy was black,
Oh, for real?
Prince's daddy's a Judite.
I did not know that.
Let me say this. Do you remember what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay, his brother used to play Dwayne. That's Prince's brother.
Wait,
Oh wow.
Mama Yaja, what'd you say?
I didn't know that. That was his brother.
Look up, pull the map down. Y'all, and enough of these comments because you're gonna pull me off the topic. Yeah. No, I'm messing with you, though, y'all. Hey, look up Dwayne Hayward. I'm trying to think of his name. Hold on. Just look up what's happening. Look up the phrase, what's happening, and then look for the person who played Dwayne, and then look up Prince. Or just put, you'll see. They damn look like twins, huh? A 70s image though, because this dude, he didn't get all filmed out like Prince. He went on and went bald in the whole nine.
Damn. Hayward knows Nelson Jr.? No.
Right, that's him. Hayward Nelson. Remember, Prince's name is Prince Rogers Nelson.
Damn.
But there you go. You have to click on the one all the way to the right. The one you see him in a yellow shirt. This is him back when he was a star on that TV show. What's happening with the dude Roger Thomas, right? And Big Fat Mama and everybody.
Damn, man.
Now, you may not see it, but the nigga look like Prince. It's just he ain't got his shit all. That's how Prince's hair was when he first came out. He used to have it blown out a little bit. Okay. Now go put up Prince's first album, Mama Yataza, like Sexy Dancers and shit like that.
That's crazy, bro.
Prince got a whole bunch of brothers and sisters, huh? So, but his daddy's a Judite brother from Minneapolis, man.
Okay.
The point is, to hell with him. Now Lenny Kravitz is an Edomite. Lenny Kravitz's mother is that black woman that used to play on the Jeffersons, who was married to that Edomite on the Jeffersons. In real life, she married a Jewish man. You can't put Prince up here without getting some lewd shit,
Huh.
But anyway, that's his brother. They're brothers. They're blood brothers, same father, same mother. Anyway, thank you, Amiyatazar. Now, hold on. Who's that? Let me see that. Hold on. Thank you. That's a better one. Send that to Amiyatazar or put that in the chat room and then Amiyatazar hook it up.
All I gotta do is type in first album, type in.
Right.
Scroll down right there. And just scroll down after Prince's first album.
Well, here's a picture of his dad.
Okay, put it up there, Art.
Icon,
He's putting up a picture of their father. Oh, there you go. Put the one to the left, Art. There you go. The nigga look like George Jefferson. Is it me? Well, we're moving on, Art. Thank you, Art. All right, now back on track. What was I talking about? Michael Jackson? I'm messing with y'all.
Tears and stuff.
Okay, so no, what I was saying in this verse 15, we're still in Revelation chapter 9, and verse 15. Read that again, Amiyah, please.
Revelation chapter 9 and verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men.
So what that means is, like I said, going backward in the future, clearly not too far future now, there is a designated year in which there is a designated what? A designated month, in which there is a designated day, in which there is a designated hour that the Most High is going to unseat the wicked off the earth. He's not talking, when it says slay here, he's not talking about all of them being killed, Doc. All the scriptures that tell you about how they're going into slavery. Psalms 194, Revelation chapter 13, verse 9 and 10, Ezekiel chapter 25, verse 12 through 14, everything that talks about Esau getting punished. Isaiah chapter 24 talks about how they're going to be put in pits and dungeons until people come and take them to captives. So when it says to slay the third part of men, the Most High is talking about unseating the wicked in the earth. And that's proof because it says the same thing in what? It says the same thing in Isaiah chapter 14. How hath the oppressor ceased? The golden scepter been broken. Now, that hour, that's Revelation chapter 18. We're gonna bounce around. So, like I said, if we end up not getting to Josephus tonight, y'all don't sweat it. We'll pick back up where we left off. Every now and then it's good to. And I'm glad Nagaha asked the question because it's good to get caught up on where we are right now. Okay. So that 1 hour is detailed in Revelation chapter 18. And Yetta said you're going to go there and you're going to read verse you're going to read verses for now, just 9 and 10. All right.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her.
No. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead and start off at verse 7, verses 7 through 10. This is what's going to take place in an hour that's referred to in Revelation chapter 9. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 7. How much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
So this is coming from the perspective of the pinnacle of the modern day Babylonian Empire, which is the United States. When the scriptures say Babylon the Great, that woman sitting upon the waters represent America. But the system of Babylon is the European civilization. It's not just America, it's all of them. Let me show you this. Remember, what did David say in Psalm 137? David didn't say, remember America. David said, remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. Then he comes back and says, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. He's talking about all of them. But when you read Revelation chapter 17, it gives you their structure. It lets you know that there is a woman that sits on a beast. The beast is referred to in the scriptures. It's talking about a civilization. Like the first beast in Daniel 7 was the Babylonian civilization, or we say empire. The second beast, the bear that had 2 sides, one higher than the other, was the Persian civilization, who had the Medes vassal to them, but governed alongside them. The third beast, the leopard that had the 4 heads and the 4 wings on his back as a fowl, that represented the Greek civilization, the introduction of the Edomite civilization. And then it was followed by another Edomite family, the 4th beast. Didn't tell you what the beast was in Daniel chapter 7, but in 2nd Ezra chapter 11 and chapter 12, it lets you know it was an eagle. And that was the Romans. And all those families come out of the Greeks. The scriptures tell you that. When the Most High tell you in Joel chapter 3 that the people of Tyre and Sidon and all of Palestine, when they sold the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem to remove them far from their borders, He said that they sold them to the sons of who? Of the Greeks. Because Esau, their whole civilization is born out of Greece. That's why they teach in their universities that civilization began with the Greeks. They're talking about their civilization. Why should they teach you about the Babylonian or the Persian or the other civilization that preceded them? Anyway, so that's what we're reading about. We're reading about the destruction of the civilization, but the Most High is going to bring down their capital. He's going to cut the head off. And all the rest are going to, it's going to be a body, a foot with a severed members, meaning cut off members. And he's going to use them to do it to each other. Read on down, that was verse 7. Verse 8.
Therefore shall her plagues come in one day.
Now listen to this. It says one day. Now he's going to tell us by the time we get to verse 10, it's not going to even take the whole 24-hour period. Go ahead.
Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire.
Go
For
ahead.
strong is the Lord power who judgeth her.
This is the Lord judging her. Go ahead.
Verse 9. And the king of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see them. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
So the kings of the earth represent all the other heads of state. Those that will have participated in burning her. Now in this chapter or the previous chapter, chapter 17, it tells you who's participating. It's talking about the other members of the modern day Babylonian civilization, which we call the European Union, the EU and all of that, NATO. They're going to fire on America. But in Revelation chapter 20 and Ezekiel chapter 38, it lets you know that Gog, Russia, is going to initiate. Yes, brother.
Which means Russia is going to win over NATO? Question mark.
Well, let me say this, that's why you got to follow certain news sites. I'll give them to you once we finish and we can get the stream off. But you'll see what's taking place right now. Like the geopolitics that's happening in Europe and Asia or Eurasia, they call it between Russia and Europe. Russia is the major supplier for their energy for Europe. So you got certain countries calling off, cutting down the pipeline and stuff, and it's going to result, aside from cutting Russia off from the finances that they're used to receiving for producing and making energy available to Europe, Europe is going to damn freeze. Yes.
And also they said that recently, they said due to the melting of the North Pole.
All that bullshit.
There's
go ahead.
There's an Arctic Silk Road, meaning from Russia, the north of Russia, they have an opportunity now to have ships and oil go through that upper water and supply Europe. So,
okay. Yeah, well, but see, that's the whole point. That's what the Ukraine is about. Ukraine is home to a pipeline. I forgot what the name of the pipeline is that comes from Russia through Ukraine, and I think in Turkey as well. And then it provides, they shut it down recently and then opened it back up. I can't think of the name of it. It escapes me. But the point is this, they're all going to participate. This right here is just reading. Chapter 18 is a reaction to what you read at the end of chapter 17 when it says the 10 horns shall hate her, shall burn her with fire, shall eat her flesh and make her bare. That's talking about Europe. Eventually, Europe is going to destroy. They're going to participate in the destruction of America. That's what's going to happen. But in chapter 38 of Ezekiel and chapter 20 of Revelation, it lets you know that Russia is the initiator of it. Anyway, this is what's taking place. So that's the death, the mourning, the fire. She shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord power to judge her. Verse on 9, it said that the kings, meaning the heads of state of the earth, is going to wail when they see her burning. Now listen to what the comment is. Verse 10, Amayatazar.
Verse 10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city. For in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
That's the hour that's being spoken of in Revelation chapter 9. That's going to be the event that results in the cascading process of Esau being dethroned in the earth. The Edomite civilization, the modern day Babylonian civilization, better known as today, more commonly referred to as the white world. Jump down, Amayatazar, to verse 19. Let me see something. No. Listen, first read verse 12 and then jump down to verse 17. Now, what we just read in verse 10 is the reaction of the heads of state of the world that witnessed this destruction. They're going to say, wow, such a great city was destroyed in 1 hour. Jump down to verse 12 and then 17, Amayatazar.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 12. The merchandise of gold and silver.
I'm sorry, shit. Verse 11.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 11. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
So now this reaction, verse 10 was the reaction of the heads of state. This reaction is coming from the international world of trade and commerce. That's why it says the merchants of the earth. Now, in verses 12 all the way to verse 16, it talks about all the industries that this civilization, right, controlled, the monopolies that it held over the textile. I mean, read verse 12 on the exit just to get an idea.
Verse 12. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls.
Now stop right there. That's common. Stop right there. That's talking about what? The jewelry industry. Read on down.
The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet.
All of that is what? All of that is the textile industry. Esau runs all of this. So this is all of the industries from verses 12 to 16 that are going to be affected and brought to a halt because of the World's Trade Center, not the building, but the actual place that what? Where trading was managed on earth. So read verse 17, Amayatazar. This is the reaction of the merchants. Continue.
Verse 17. For Revelation chapter 18 and verse 17. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught.
Now why is it saying this? Why does it keep repeating that theme 1 hour? Because that's what it said in chapter 9. But it just said 1 hour of 1 day of 1 month of 1 year for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men, that civilization the Bible refers to as Babylon, and the city that runs it, Babylon the Great. It's talking about the European civilization, which is in this day, the most strongest now is the United States. Now, 200 years ago, I always say this, 200 years ago, we would have been sitting in someplace in class, 200 years ago having class, the Brits were the top dog. We probably would have thought, well, it's going to happen in these days, during the time of the height of the British Empire. But then before that, it was a time when the French ran it, the Napoleonic years, right? The Germans, the Kaisers of Germany had their run at being the top dog, where they constantly fought one another. So today, it's America. And it says in 1 hour, verse 17 once more, Amayatazar.
Verse 17. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all
now
the company.
It's telling you what? When it says shipmaster, now that second reaction was the reaction of the merchants. So who are the merchants today? The merchants are the international, multinational corporations and conglomerates that run everything. You got this, you can see the web of products that a couple of conglomerates own everything bought and sold all the way down to a stick of bubble gum. Those are the merchants. It's not just talking about the store up, Target, JCPenney or whatever. I'm not talking about old stores. Go ahead, Yetazah. Read verse 17 again.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 17. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships.
Now, when it says shipmaster, it's talking about all of international transport. What is that called? We're talking about all those container tankers that's off the coast of many ports now that's not being allowed to dock. The shippers are talking about all those that get the product from where it's produced, from slave labor, cheap as hell, to the United States, to the globe's greatest consumer populations. They're going to be affected. So you're going to read that all the way down on the Yetazah to, what was that, verse 17? Read verse 17 to 19.
Revelation 18 and verse 17. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off.
Go ahead.
And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city?
Yeah, no place like America, like Don King is always saying. Hold up, Tazapah. What do you got to say, Ak? Unmute your mic, brother.
I had a couple of questions, but I'm not trying to take anything off topic. But verse 17, does this also tie in with the drama that's going on at the Canadian border?
Well, let me say this, Ak. That's what the brother. You're not taking nothing off of topic. What we're on, it opened up with a brother asking about the current events. And so he mentioned one of the current events, Ukraine. And what I was coming at, and I'm still doing it, is coming at whatever's taking place, like including that, right? And especially that, because believe it or not, Tazapah, that dynamic there is taking place in New Zealand. It's taking place in Australia. What happens is that dynamic, it ties in, but it's down the vein of what we read in 2nd Esdras chapter 15, where it starts talking about all the tumult in the world. And the seditions, it says, against the government, it said they shall not regard their kings nor their princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. That is along that vein, but it's so what it is, it's like imagine the current events as a big old collage, and it's just one corner, one area on the big collage. So it is tied in. You see what I'm saying?
Con.
But it's not. But what I'm trying to show brothers. Now this is where I'm coming from in answering the brother's question, so that you know. I was telling them that whatever is taking place in the world, whatever is happening, you can't rely on mainstream sources of media to know what's taking place.
Con.
They're being used, and that's what we're reading here. They're being used to serve a purpose. And the purpose is, we'll get to it, but that's where we at. So yes, what you're saying is tied in. You understand? But where I'm coming from, for the brothers to understand that what we're seeing for instance, Ukraine, Canada, because when you say Canada, let's be real, that's just how can we put it? A reaction. It's a long deserved reaction, but nevertheless a reaction to measures that's been taking place, international measures that's been put into place because of a so-called contrived health crisis. So now this is just one of the places that's reacting, and it's getting more volatile. It's going to get like that in the States too, but the States are so comfortable, they're not going to activate until they finally don't have no food. That's how That's how pop culture and availability and overindulgence has put the American population to sleep. So they actually have to they have to have hungry, empty stomachs first. It's getting there, but the people in Australia, they're being rounded up. So the people in New Zealand being rounded up. So but what's taking place in that setting, let's say that in that paradigm of protest, that's down the line of what? Of 2nd Ezra chapter 15, the seditions and people not regarding their kings or their princes. Now here's the deal. The point that I'm making is whatever Fox News and CNN and all these other mainstream sources say about them, they're lying. Like they're calling them terrorists.
And I wholeheartedly agree, because we know that the media is the fourth branch of the government anyway, and they're just there to tell you what to think.
Now, let me say this, and that's what we're going to get to, okay? Exactly.
I had another question, because you touched on it earlier. Going back to 91, you talking about that pipeline. I wanted to know, was that the same pipeline that Halliburton under Dick Cheney was working on?
No, that's a whole different thing. But because this one is between the Russians and the Ukrainians. Okay. So the things that Halliburton have been working on have been in the Arab world for the most part, and in Africa. Okay. Huh?
And North Stream?
That's the one, North Stream. That's the one. But anyway, listen, those are the events, but I'm trying to get to show you guys what's underway, how the quote sources of media are being used. That's what this is all written. I'm going to show you that. But we started off in Revelations. Well, we started off in 16, but we went to chapter 9 and we found out about this 1 hour. And that's what this is giving us the detail on, because it said to slay the third part of men. So what we're doing is we're defining the third part of men being slain in 1 hour, what that really is saying. That's talking about the destruction of the people on earth categorized as the wicked, the seed of the wicked. The Edomites, they got many names. The Most High refers to them as the dragon. The Most High refers to them as Satan. The Heavenly Father refers to them as Lucifer, right? And in this chapter 18, we're reading about the fall of the destruction of Babylon the Great. All one Edomite, European white world civilization. And they'll get mad and they'll say you're racist. Why are you saying that? But when you go and read the scriptures, the time came when the Most High brought down the Egyptian civilization. How come we can see that that's not a racist statement? It's just the Egyptian, that ethnic group was on top of the world at that time, on top of the known world, and the Most High brought them down. And then a succession of nations and civilizations oriented around one dominant ethnic group, took place. The Assyrians, an ethnic group. Yes, they had all the people in the region known as the Garden of Eden in Ezekiel chapter 31 under their wing. Then it passed on to who? To the Babylonians. Then it passed on to the Persians. Then it passed on to the Greeks and the Romans. And today we're living under the children, the sons of the Greeks and the Romans. So when you talk about their civilization falling, now you're being racist. Some stupid shit. It's stupid. This whole hemisphere was dominated by Hebrew indigenous people that they call indigenous Indians. And 500 and some odd years ago, our civilization was brought to an end. Another Hebrew civilization in the continent of Africa that they call African Americans today, same period of time, their civilizations were brought to an end, and then they were sold over here to suffer punishment with their Hebrew indigenous brothers. All of that was ethnic. The Most High brought us down. And that's what we're reading about now. The time is coming now where this group that the Most High referred to as the third part of men, the sons of the wicked, the Edomites, Lucifer, Babylon the Great, these are all the various terms that the Most High referred to them. The beast was 7 heads and 10 horns. The dragon was 7 heads and 10 horns. Read verse 17. You read that. Read verse 17 through 19 again.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 17. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning.
So now
saying,
this is basically the reaction of the shipping industry. We got three demographics that we're reading about. We're reading about how the heads of state are going to respond, and they're going to recognize that this place was destroyed in 1 hour. Then we're reading about the international, multinational corporations that the Bible referred to as merchants of the earth. Then they're going to recognize the destruction having taken place within the span of an hour. And now we're talking about all of what? International commerce, the international shipping. And they're recognizing the same. Continue on, Yetis. I'll call out your verse.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 18. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea.
Everybody that had some type of international transport company was made rich by transporting these things to America. Whether it's petroleum tankers, whether it's those container tankers, full of automobiles, whatever. It's saying what? Read verse 19 again.
Wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate.
So now let's go back to chapter 9 and read verse 15 again, and you'll know what's supposed to take place in that hour. Now it's going to happen through war,
Revelation chapter 9 and verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year.
So now that's the point. You take that and you understand that what it is saying is there is a designated year in which there's a designated month, in which there's a designated day, in which there's a designated hour where the third part of men, continue on Yetazah.
For to slay the third part of men.
Right, go ahead.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them.
Okay, so now that's just talking about the armies, between the armies of the Heavenly Father and the armies on earth, but this is talking about this war. That's why it's called Armageddon. The term Armageddon is a Hebrew word that means Har Magadwan. Magadwan is how you say troops. Har is mountain. So it's talking about the mountain of the gathering of troops. That's what Armageddon means. Because the Most High is coming when all the troops and all the nations that are to be involved, when their militaries have been deployed, and then once the nuclear bombs have begun to be launched, that's when Christ is coming. That's when he said he's coming. That's what it means when it says, and the stars shall fall from heaven, then shall you see the sign of the Son of Man coming with great clouds. Okay, now that's chapter 9, right? We started off at 16, but we went back to 9, so that's the general sense. Now he's going to tell you, how is the Most High going to facilitate that? It says, in this one we read that the 4 angels bound in the great river Euphrates were loosed, and it tells you why. So that there was one designated hour in a day, in a year, and a month, right? A month and a year. Well, now let's go get who's going to help usher the world there. That's once again in chapter 16 and starting off at verse 12, right? I mean, that's what we did, right? Yes, chapter 16 and verse 12. Now remember, the chapter 9 referred to that period as being the result of the 6th angel having blown his trumpet. This one here is saying the same thing, but it's the 6th angel having poured his vial out. Go ahead. Or the contents of his vial.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 12. And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
So now when did this really take place? When did the kings of the East begin to be stirred up for war? We know that it's for war because we just read it in chapter 9, the related chapter. So what took place? Put that map back up on the Euphrates. What took place that began to bring the kings for war of the East? It was what we refer to, what we know in our recent history as the American launched Operation what? Operation Desert Storm. That started off in 91. And guess what happened? You see that little thing at the bottom that says Kuwait? The United States made a false report that Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait. And they had a little bitty girl that was supposedly an intern or some type of volunteer worker in a hospital that came to the United Nations and reported that the Iraqi soldiers were going into the hospitals and taking babies out the incubators and putting them on the floor, allowing them to die. These are all the things that took place in 1990 during Bush Sr., his presidency. That's what was happening. And so what ensued? Operation Desert Storm. And that's what began. Now, let me show you. But how is it that we got there? Read verse 13 now.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Now stop right there. These are 3 sources, 3 elements of the entity that is referred to as the beast. The dragon right here, you got 2 dragons mentioned. The dragon of Revelations chapter 12, the dragon of Revelations chapter 20, and this one are all the same dragon. It's talking about another term for the Edomite civilization. Remember in chapter 12, John said he saw a wonder in heaven. He saw a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, right? That's this dragon. So in this one is broken down into three groups, three members of one body. The dragon here represents the elite of what? Of all of the Edomite civilization. These are the ones that give the orders. Listen to what I'm telling you. I'm trying to show what's taking place because it's talking about something, it's talking about propaganda. That's why it said these unclean spirits like frogs came out of the mouths of these entities. But who gives the order on what is to be? And let's say this. So what is the true mouthpiece of the beast of this nation? It's their media. It's how we find it. It's how we got words hammered into us that now sound like English so common. Words like Taliban. Nobody knew about the Taliban until after 9/11. Wrong or right? Who is here talking about the Taliban?
Nobody.
Nobody. Nobody knew such a but it's been uttered so often that it sounds like a damn English word now. Even when the Taliban came and visited Ronald Reagan during his presidency in the White House and were presented to the American public as the Afghani equivalents of the American founding fathers. Nobody remembered that shit because there was a bunch of people with rags on their head, dressed with bed sheets, sitting in the Oval Office. But once something significant happened and they began to associate the falling of these towers with the Taliban. Now, guess what that was? That was propaganda that was designed to do what happened afterward, y'all. Did not the Eastern world get invaded? Did not Afghanistan get invaded? And they just pulled out a couple of months ago. That was the whole purpose. The dragon is the element in this chapter that gives the orders for all the other elements. These are the people that run, these are the families, and that what Paul referred to as the rulers of the wickedness in this world, the rulers of the darkness of this world. In Ephesians chapter 6, it's them. They're the dragon. of the Edomite nation that's called the dragon in chapter 12 and chapter 20, the top dogs, these are the ones that determine these militaries are not the United States Army. They're not the German army. They belong to these groups. They're the ones who pulled the trigger. This was the question. They're the ones who pulled the trigger on when there's going to be war. So he said, I saw 3 unclean frogs, 3 unclean spirits like frogs. One of them came out the mouth of the dragon. The other one came out of the mouth of the beast. The beast in this verse is talking about what? It's talking about the military demographic of the Edomite. I'm going to prove that because in Revelation chapter 13, real quick, in Revelation chapter 13, I want you to read verse 4.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 4. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
Now, this dragon here is talking about the spiritual demon Satan that empowers this beast. This one here goes with Luke chapter what? 4 and verses 1 through 7, where the Satan came and told Christ what? All the things, the kingdoms of this world, he says, and all the glory, I will give it to thee, for it is given unto me. And to whomsoever I will, I give it. If thou wilt therefore worship me, all shall be thine. So that's where people be getting mixed up. Because just in chapter 12, here's the difference. Whenever you hear the dragon that have 7 heads and 10 horns, that's the earthly entity. When you hear about the dragon that gave power to the beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, that's the spiritual entity. So you understand?
Okay,
Can you repeat that?
Say that again.
Can you repeat that?
I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to repeat it with a source. So, and listen, write down Revelation chapter 12. And verse 3, I'm going to show you, this is the earthly entity that's called the dragon. This is just the Edomite civilization. Read verse 3, Amayetazah, Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3.
Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads.
So that's the earthly entity, y'all. That's the Edomite civilization. Why? Because we know that the 7 heads of this civilization are the 7 greatest empires of it. They began with the Greeks, went on to the Romans, they suffered a deadly blow. That head was wounded, the scriptures say, and then came the Spanish. Right? The Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, the Germans, the Russians, and the Britons. And out, it says, out of those 7 came the 8th, which is America. We're not breaking that down, but that's so that you know. Whenever it talks about what? Though any entity that has 7 heads and 10 horns, because it's not always called the dragon, sometimes it's called the beast. This is what mixes people up. That's the description. Now I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a few more to prove it to you. Jump down to verse 9 so you can get other names of this entity, this earthly entity, the Edomite civilization. It's also called what? Yes, it's our same chapter, verse 9.
Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out.
The which dragon? The one that we just read about in the previous chapter 3 that had 7 heads and 10 horns. The time is going to come when he's going to be cast out, meaning lose power. Go ahead.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent.
Hold on. That's another name. And it's taking us all the way back to Genesis chapter 3. That old serpent. You understand? That was the embodiment before the flood of the sons of the children of the wicked then. That caused Adam to fall. That old serpent. Go ahead.
Called the devil.
He's also known as the devil. Go ahead.
And Satan.
And Satan, continue.
Which deceiveth the whole world.
Now how? Once again, it keeps going back to the point I want to make. How do they deceive the world? They're deceiving the world through their media. They're deceiving the world through academia. All of these are what? Various mouthpieces. Academia, we call it school, university, grad school, post-grad work.
Yeah.
This is how people's heads is getting messed up. It's doctrine, it's propaganda. But in chapter 16, John saw it in the form of 3 unclean spirits coming out of specific elements of this civilization. From the top, the dragon now. The dragon in chapter 16 the dragon in chapter 16 is this very same dragon. All right. But the dragon in chapter 13, how do you know the difference? Because he's telling you this is the one. Let's go on and break it down so you can understand it. I'm just trying to get to one verse, and it's a whole lot just to do, to show you. Because of these terms that people get mixed up on. Amayetazah. We're in chapter 13. You're going to read quickly from 1 to 3, because this is talking about the same entity that chapter 12 is talking about. It's talking about the actual Edomite civilization. But look at what it says. Chapter 13, verse 1. I'm going to get to 3.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So how do you know it's the earthly entity? Because it has the same descriptions of the dragon in chapter 12. The 7 heads and the 10 horns represent what? It tells you in chapter 17, the 7 dominant kingdoms of this nation. And then the 10 supporting kingdoms that only got power as kings for a little while. This is the actual Edomite civilization. Read on down, Amayetazah.
Revelation 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand.
Verse 2.
Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
That's just talking about 3 families of this nation. The leopard represents the very first ones to hit the scene. The Greeks, the 3rd beast of Daniel chapter 7, the leopard. Remember that one? Here, when it says the feet of the bear, it's talking about the feet represent the end. Just like in Daniel chapter 2, you had that big image, and as they moved all the way down, the feet with miry clay and iron represent the end of the civilization. This here is talking about the Russians. The Russians are known as the bear. We all know this. And the lion represents the British family. And the reason why I said the mouth of the lion is because that's the one, they're the cats who, for the most part, run a whole lot. They determine what trajectory is done geopolitically, the British. Go ahead, Ak.
And the dragon gave him his power.
Now stop right there. The dragon in this verse is the entity that gave the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns his power. So who do Esau get his power from? Thank you. That's this. So this dragon is the spiritual demon Satan. How do we know? Because this is the one who gave the beast. What did it say he gave him out? And the dragon did what?
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
So when it says his seat, he's talking about his position. He's the one, that's why he's on top. People be talking, all the Chinese off, the Chinese can kiss everybody's ass. The Chinese are only powerful in their right now because the white man built them up. The Clintons sold nuclear secrets to them. From the time of Bush, or actually from the time of Nixon up until the present, every president, with the exception of Donald Trump, did everything in the world to put China in that trade advantage over the United States. That's why they're there. Them niggas ain't did nothing on their own since the Great Wall.
Oh, we built that. Come.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't build that shit. Everybody always, the Israelites did every fucking thing. And the Israelites went to the moon too, I guess. Fucking shit, huh? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's oh, we was this and we was that. Nobody else was nothing. How could you do all of this shit in slavery, man? been in slavery since the time of the damn Babylonians. What the anyway, let me stop. Right? 586 BC, niggas going to slavery, and they've been doing great things ever since. Come on, man. If you did do it, you did it at the end of a crack of a whip. Yeah, we built the pyramids too, but how? Getting our asses whipped by the Egyptians. Let me say this old school shit that Israel got to stop on, because they be saying all this and they don't be bringing no proof. And this is that, and that's not what the word is. That's why the scripture said, prove all things. So here, the dragon in chapter 13 is the source of the Edomite civilization's what? Power on earth. So when it says he gave him his power, guess what the power is? Today we call it military might, we call it technology, all the shit that put Esau on top industrially and technologically. That come inspired from Satan. What the hell is nanotechnology, y'all? Shit you can't even see. But it's living things that they can inject in you, and they go in and construct things in your body. Think about that. But it's a demonstration, it's an illustration of when it says the dragon gave the beast his power. That's why they're the leading, who was the first to use gunpowder? The Chinese. Chinese New Year's all light the sky up, got niggas running around under them little dragons and shit. The white men get a hold of that damn fire, that black powder, and look at what they did to it. They went and conquered the Chinese with their own shit. Took it, and now gunpowder ain't good for nothing but firecrackers now. Gunpowder ain't good for nothing but bullets now. Esau's power exceeds that, because that is what the Most High had Satan give him. That's the power. When it says his seat, he's talking about the actual position. Why does it say seat? We're not going to go and read it all, but I'm going to refer you to it. Luke chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. What did Satan had a conversation with Christ? You guys remember this? And it said he took Christ unto the top of the mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment's time, and said, all this power and glory will I give thee, right? For it is given unto me. This is what Satan said. He's saying, this world is mine. Then he came back and told Christ what? And to whomsoever I will, I give it. Meaning I give it to who I want to. But then he told Christ what it is he had to do. He said, if thou wilt therefore worship me, all shall be thine. Those are the verses that prove that what? That this one is talking about, this dragon is talking about the spiritual demon Satan. All right. I hope that's clear. Nagaha, is that clear for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, so in chapter 16 again, I'm gonna yet to go back there, and you're going to read verse 13. Verse 13 is talking about all of the elements, not all, but all of these three mentioned are elements of the physical civilization, the Edomite civilization on earth. So among the Edomites that are called the beast in chapter 13, that are called the dragon in chapter 12, among them there is a group among them that are called the dragon. They are the top ones. They are the ones who actually interface with the spiritual demon, with the spiritual dragon, with the spirit. Esau, the devil ain't just coming and making these, every average Edomite powerful. Many average Edomites is in church talking about Jesus.
Wow.
So who are the ones, when Satan said, to whomsoever I will, I give it, who did he give it to? Who are the physical Edomites that received it? The people like to call them the elites, the top families. They're just Satanists, right? The Zionists, all the different factions that draw their inspiration from evil committed, sacrifices committed, so that they could receive satanic power. That's who this dragon is. It's talking about Edomites on earth now. Read verse 13 on me, Yetazal.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 13. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
Now hold on. So the beast, once again, is this, the beast is the entire nation, but of the beast, you have a demographic called the beast, and that represents their military force. We know them as the United States force and NATO, and I'm gonna prove it to you because you guys ain't gotta go to, I'm gonna read it real quick, so I'm gonna have to stay with you. In Revelations chapter 13 and verse 4, listen to what it says. It says, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. Verse chapter 13, when we read chapter 13, the dragon there is the spiritual demon Satan. The spiritual demon Satan is being worshiped because of what the beast did. What did the beast do? The beast went and conquered the whole world and gave them his religion. The Dutch, the French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, and the English, those 5 European nations came and took down the entire Western Hemisphere and brought their religion. That's why people are worshiping Satan. It says, listen, and they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, meaning the actual Edomite civilization, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to do what? Who is able to make war with him? So they have their war apparatus. And so when you read, remember, what is chapter 9 and chapter 16 talking about? Chapter 16 and chapter 9 of Revelation, or the verses, the corresponding verses that we read, are telling us what efforts are going into making sure war takes place on earth. That's what we read in chapter 9. It was about releasing the river, the angels out of the river Euphrates, so that what? So that the day could come where a third part of men must be slain. Here it's going to say the same thing. What is the purpose of these unclean spirits? Now let me say this. The mouth of the false prophet is talking about the religious institution. It ain't just talking about Christianity. It's talking about Islam. It's talking about all religions involved in what? We're going to show you. Read on down, verse 4, read 13 into 14 smooth.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth.
Now stop. He's telling you what these 3 unclean spirits are from these 3 sources. It says these are the what? These are the spirits of devils. Guess what the term devil means? The term devil means slanderer or false accuser. People, they brothers be saying it means evil and deceiver. And of course, those are adjectives that describe what the devil's deeds are. But the word devil in and of itself means false accuser or slanderer. Now I'm going to show you what happened. Listen to what it says in verse 14. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of the God Almighty. What is he telling us? He's telling us these are the sources that have been used to get people to come to war. That's all, it's propaganda, y'all. So now I'm gonna say this. It says these are the spirits of devils. How did America end up in Afghanistan? Because they blamed a bunch of people. They blamed a handful of men with some laptops in a damn cave for bringing down the towers. You can't tell me that's not a miracle. How does an airplane fly into 2 buildings and knock down 3 of them? You know that there have been planes to fly into the Empire State Building years before. They didn't bring it down. Did y'all know that?
Huh.
And the World Trade Center was built way, in the 70s, way more advanced than what? Than when the Empire State Building was built. The Empire, I said umpire, baseball. The Empire State Building. Hell, even King Kong climbed it and it didn't fall. The hell. So there, when it says these are the spirits of devils, it's talking about from these sources, from the media source, from the military source, and from the religious source. All the information proceeding from them is designed to get people to go to war, huh? And that's what happened. I don't know if you guys can go back in time in your mind and remember who was being called the man of God during the time of the first war. It was President Bush Jr. Everybody was called, Pat Robertson, all the religious leaders was pushing America going and taking down the evil Islamic empire.
Axis of evil.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Bush called them, the axis of evil. So everything that was poured into the media that came forth to people, that made it to the common man's television during dinner hours, was designed to create an international consent to attack Iraq. What were they telling us? Weapons of mass destruction. They had even this nigga Colin Powell go with some vile, Dave Chappelle made a joke about this, going to the UN talking about the people in Nigeria. Saddam Hussein was trying to buy some yellow cake from scientists in Nigeria. Turned out to be a lie. Then they have, you can go right there, I don't know if they pulled it down, but there's a video of some gala event where Bush is speaking, President Bush Jr., and they're making fun about having told lies about weapons of mass destruction. And he's going, weapons of mass destruction? Well, not over here. Nothing over there. He's joking about it. He's joking about it. Because you know what? It was designed to get the people to go to war. That's why it says these are miracles. Now, what was it that initiated it all? I mean, Jackson, you can pull that map down. I want you to look for the conversation between April Gillespie, right? She was the, let me see. I think she was the ambassador to the United, I can't remember her position. But if you look up her name, you can look up April Gillespie, because I used to say Gillespie, but I think it's Gillespie, authorizes Saddam Hussein to move on Kuwait. Because you know why? Because Saddam Hussein called her. She was like the Secretary of State or something like that. She was a high official in the US State Department. And when Saddam Hussein found out that the Kuwaitis were slant drilling his oil, they were drilling in their territory, slanting into his territory and stealing his petroleum. He called them. And she was authorized by President Bush Sr. to let him know how he handles that affair is his issue. That's when he sent troops in to put a halt to the slant drilling. Then Bush Sr. comes on TV and says, you know, the whole thing. Let me know when you got some up there on the Yetzirah. All right. And the time is going to come when, as we move forward in time, you ain't going to be able to find these sources no more, because you guys see Esau is censoring everybody. He's canceling everybody. So you can't even get these articles anymore. Then you had the little girl who was brought at the United Nations. Something happened, y'all. That was brought to the United Nations and gave a testimony, like I said, that she was a volunteer in a hospital in southern Iraq, witnessed the Iraqi troops coming into Kuwaiti hospitals, and they were killing babies and taking them out, the recently born babies, and taking them out, the incubators, and throwing them on the floor to die. And it turned out that that little 13, 14-year-old girl was lying, and that she was the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. All of these I'm trying to show you are the lies that he's talking about when he says in verse 14, for they are the spirit of devils working miracles. It's talking about, did you get it on me yet, Tazar?
Yes, I've shared the link as well.
Okay, put it up there, please. I'm gonna read this, y'all.
Wow.
It says on July, something happened to y'all camera, though, y'all. On July 25th, President Saddam Hussein of Iraq summoned the United States ambassador to Baghdad, April Glaspie. Okay, I got her name right this time. To his office in the last high-level contact between the two governments before the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait on August 2nd. Now, this is what? Let me see, it doesn't say the year. It's 1991, though. Here are excerpts from a document described by Iraqi government officials as a transcript of the meeting, which also included the Iraqi Foreign Minister Tariq Aziz. A copy was provided to the New York Times by ABC News, which translated it from the Arabic. The State Department has declined to comment on its accuracy. See that? When it comes to the truth, they can't do it. It says, Saddam Hussein, this is him speaking, I have summoned you today to hold comprehensive political discussion with you. This is a message to President Bush. You know that we did not have relations with the US until 1984, and you know the circumstances and reasons which caused them to be severed. The decision to establish relations with the US were taken in 1980 during the 2 months prior to the war between us and Iran. This is the one where Saddam Hussein was paid to go by the United States and invade Iran for 8 years, and it was designed to exhaust both nations. Anyway, when the war started, and to avoid misinterpretation, we postponed the establishment of relations, hoping that the war would end soon. Scroll on down on me at the top.
Okay. I'm in. Come on.
I just want to, if you can get to the part where she authorizes.
Are you on that?
You know what? You made it available to them, right?
Yeah.
Did you read through it yourself to make sure that it's making the point that I'm making?
It's quite long.
Okay, then y'all got to read it. You'll find out that this April Glaspie was authorized by President Bush Sr. to authorize Saddam Hussein into handling it like he wanted. Now, let me say this. See, if you guys don't understand Revelations, these are prophecies that's being fulfilled in the form of geopolitics. These are the miracles. These are the lies. These are the spirits. When it says of devils, remember, whenever it's called a devil, it's talking about some source that is slanderous, some source that is falsely accusing. So you gotta go back all the way back to damn World War I, the sinking of the Lusitania, false flag operation. World War II, the sinking of the World War II was what pulled American was Pearl Harbor. That was set up and designed to happen. Iraq, mass destructions. The Afghanis bringing down the World Trade Center, and they happen to find 19 Egyptian or 19 Saudi Arabian passports. 2 Afghani passports. Now, amazing how everything got burnt to a cinder. Everything was vaporized, but they found 21 passports, y'all. 19 of them Saudi Arabian and 2 of them Afghanistan. So you go in the attack Afghanistan. And they just pulled out a couple of months ago and left billions of dollars of military hardware there for the Afghanis. That's what the Most High is telling us. Everything that's taking place on Nagaha is being reported in a distorted fashion. That's why it says devils, meaning they're lying, they're falsely accusing, right? They're slandering nations with the intention of garnering popularity to go to war against the Arab world. So that means I can read, this is in red on.
Yeah, that's the key point.
At the top. It says, now this is Glaspie. This is the Iraqi ambassador, the US ambassador to Iraq, April Glaspie, responding to Saddam Hussein. I think I understand this. I have lived here for years. I admire your extraordinary efforts to rebuild your country. I know you need funds. We understand that, and our opinion is that you should have the opportunity to rebuild your country. But we have no opinion on the Arab conflicts. That means one Arab nation against another, because Kuwait is another Arab nation that used to belong to Iraq. It was created by the British Empire and divided. All right, all those Arab borders were divided after the Brits. Let's put it like this: after World War I, the Brits had all of what they call the Middle East, and much of the Arab world was property of the Ottoman Turk Empire. After World War I, the Ottoman Turk Empire was reduced back to the borders of what is the modern day Turkey. And then all of those borders, Iraq, Iran, and all the others, were created by the British Empire. They're the ones who gave those names and all that stuff and created the borders, all right? So that you know. So he's saying at this point in the red, once again, but we have no opinion on the Arab conflicts. Like your border disagreement with Kuwait. See that? Now she specifies that. I was in the American embassy in Kuwait during the late 60s. The instruction we had during this period was that we should express no opinion on this issue and that the issue is not associated with America. James Baker, now here's another notorious name in American geopolitics. James Baker has directed our official spokesman to emphasize this instruction. We hope you can solve this problem using any suitable method via Klebli or via President Mubarak. Mubarak was the guy, let me see, President Mubarak. Mubarak was the guy in Egypt at the time. Mubarak, yeah. All that we hope is that these issues are solved quickly. So she's giving him the go-ahead. With regard to all of this, can I ask you to see how this issue appears to us? My assessment after 25 years service in this area is that your objective must have strong backing from your Arab brothers. I now speak of oil, but you, Mr. President, and then she goes on. The point is, from this conversation, he was authorized, like it said here, to handle it in a suitable method, right? Using Kibli or President Mubarak, who was, I think, isn't Mubarak?
Yeah, Mubarak was Egypt.
Okay, Mubarak was an Egyptian president. Okay, he's the one probably before. No.
He's the one that was overthrown in the Arab Spring.
Right, that was Hosni Mubarak.
Yeah.
He's the one that fell during the Arab Spring, one of the many, right? In the beginning of the Arab Spring. So that's him, that's Hosni Mubarak. Okay, 40 years allied with the United States. So she's telling him, use him. Anyway, thank you, Ak. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to share with you, Nagaha, is that this is the scripture that lets you know what the purpose of all of these sources of information that come from different elements of the Edomite civilization. The dragon is just talking about the top echelons of their civilization. The beast is talking about the general geopolitical military apparatus. And the false prophet is talking about what? The religious institution. That's why it's false prophet. Everybody claiming to be the mouthpiece of God. Now listen to what it says. Read verse 14 again, Amayetazah. What's the purpose of these miracles? What was the purpose of these three unclean spirits like frogs coming out of each of these demographics of the Edomite civilization? Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 16 and verse 14. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which
I'm
go
gonna show you
forth.
something real quick. Now, I have a dictionary. Actually, it's an excerpt from an online dictionary of devil. Listen to this, it lets you know, first of all, from the Latin diabolus, from the late Greek diabolos, meaning US or OS, it says from the Greek slanderer. That's what the term devil means. From diabale, to slander. Now, Amayetazah, I want you to put up the definition from our Bible that we always use, or I'm sorry, our dictionary, of what it is to slander, the verb slander, okay?
Yeah.
Let's read what the scriptures, or what the Bible dictionary, it's not a Bible dictionary, it's the Noah Webster dictionary. I call it the Bible dictionary because Noah Webster created the dictionary with the intention of people having a clear understanding of what the King James Version Bible words meant. And that's why he always uses only Bible examples. See that? Listen to this, slander. Now, this is what the word devil means. It means to slander or slanderer. A false tale or report maliciously uttered, intending to injure the reputation of another by lessening him in the esteem of his fellow citizens. And so this is how the Esau, listen, this is like propaganda 101. Before they attack any foreign nation, the first thing they do is always show, I hope you guys check this out, how Esau brings it to the attention of the international community on how said civilization treat their women. Who has ever seen that? I mean, yes, say that again.
All the time.
You see that, it's always how the Taliban abused the women. The women can't go. They said this about Saddam Hussein. And when Mohammed el-Baradei was the person who was the head of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. He was the one that did months-long search for Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction and came to the conclusion that there weren't any. Once again, you could look the name up, Mohammed el-Baradei. They turned around later and tried to make him president of Egypt after they ousted Hosni Mubarak from Egypt. Don't know how much longer I got, brothers. But the point is, this is what the scriptures is telling you. In chapter 16, so the first thing Esau does is, now, like I said, once el-Baradei and the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, got to Egypt, guess who had to show them, got to Iraq, guess who was responsible for showing them all of the nuclear or whatever installations are? It was majority Iraqi women. But simultaneously, while the IAEA was doing its job, the United States was running propaganda to show how brutal the Ba'athist regime, because that was the political platform of Saddam Hussein. They were the Ba'athist party. How brutal the Ba'athist regime was against women in general, and that they weren't allowed to be educated. It was horrible. And when they got there, they found most of the people in charge of this sophisticated technology were women, Amayetazah. But that's what Esau does. So first thing he does is he works on the international opinion about how they treat women. Then he come back and work on other things. But that's what they be doing. These be, quote, what? Devilish acts, meaning slanderous acts. Now, once again, by exposing men, what does that mean? To impeachment and punishment, or by impairing his means of lining. In other words, once again, slander means defamation. Slander, that worst of poison ever finds an easy entrance to ignoble minds. That means it's easy to take someone whose mind is not noble and slander someone else. Number two, disgrace, reproach, disreputation, ill name, to defame, to injure by maliciously uttering a false report respecting one, to tarnish or impair the reputation of one by false tales maliciously told or propagated. Now you see that. Weapons of mass destruction, Amiyatazah. And you had, what was it? Was it Susan Rice? somebody said, no, it's not Susan Rice, Condoleezza Rice. Susan Rice came after. Susan Rice, I think, was in the Clinton or probably Barack Hussein, Allahu Akbar, Obama administration. But Condoleezza Rice, she gave a report and was saying concerning Saddam Hussein that the next warning, if you guys don't let us go on an attack, the next warning could come in the form of a mushroom cloud. Who remembers that, Amiyat Tazar?
I don't remember that.
Do you?
No, I don't remember that.
That was Condoleezza, boxer face Rice. You ever seen that face? You ever see that woman's face? Take this down and put a picture of Condoleezza Rice up. Condoleezza Rice looked like Rocky and number Rocky 2 when he came in this thing screaming Adrian. All them that mashed up. She has an evil countenance. You've seen Condoleezza Rice, right?
No one looks evil.
She like an evil dog. All right. Anyway, I wanted to read that and show you that the source that I'm reading from this dictionary is the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 4th edition, copyright 2006. Because, and I had to actually photocopy these because Esau be editing. You got that monster's face out?
Yeah.
She looked like Godzilla, brother.
What?
I'm just saying, she looked like Godzilla to me. She got that mean ass pit bull face. Look at that shit, Doc. Even with a smile, she looked like she'll eat you. Look at that, Doc. That's one bitch I will cross the street when I see. That's one lady I am afraid of. But she's the one. Now look how they use black people, because she was the one that, like I said, her warning was that if they didn't heed the reports that the intelligence agency was delivering to her, she was a part of the State Department. I think she was Secretary of State or something like that. I can't remember. But she said the next warning that we could get could come in the form of a mushroom cloud. All right, yes, as I do that, look up Condoleezza Rice mushroom cloud speech.
They always be scaremongering.
That's what they do. But listen, we call it scaremongering, but the scriptures call it what? It says they're what? Deceive, they're devilish spirits of devils. They're lying. They're slandering the countries. And now you got this international opinion against the Arab world in general. Because of Esau's media, because of Esau's media apparatus. Okay, once again, y'all, the source. Now listen, even the word Satan, let me see. The word Satan means adversary and accuser. That's what Esau been doing forever. All right, and the source of that one is the Easton's 1987 Bible Dictionary. All right. Okay, that's good enough. What you got up there on me? Did you find this speech yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so the message for the most part of tonight's class, hold on. Concerning the current events, Nagaha, is you can't go by the sources that are pushed by the mainstream media because they're designed to lie. And all the sources that be giving you what's really going on, Esau's calling them conspiracy theorists, Doc. Like, you mean to tell me there's no fucking such thing as conspiracies at all? Then how did Kennedy get killed? Then how did Pearl Harbor get attacked? You mean a whole bunch of Japanese pilots just woke up one morning and said, fuck it, let's go on and just bomb Pearl Harbor? That was a conspiracy. You mean if conspiracies don't exist, then how did the Twin Towers come down? No matter who did it, it clearly was a conspiracy. It wasn't publicized. We wasn't warned to be out of New York on that day, were we? I'm not gonna have no heart attack over this. I'm just letting you know.
Man,
Hey, I'm just letting you know, don't believe the hype. All right? I mean, yes, let me know when you got something. Now, concerning what Taza Pa was asking about how does the dynamic that's taking place between the Canadian and American border relate to this. I'm gonna show you all that in this last part. Check that out, Art. Now I'm gonna read the top. On CNN, see, once again, Art, these liars. On CNN, now what is CNN, y'all? See, we be want to call it what? We'd be want to call it a news media source, but it isn't. It's a mouthpiece for the empire. That's what it is. And then who runs all of the media? The top echelons of who? Of the Edomite empire. This is how they keep everybody under one word. You know what the term one word means? Universe. University. Verse means word. Like people like, oh, spin some verses. That's what the university was about. That's why it's called university. It's designed to take generations and generations of youth and lock them into one way of thinking, one speech. That's what everybody that take up psychology be taught the same things from the same sources. They come tell me about Pavlov and all these different ones. But if they took another thing, philosophy or whatever, then they be telling me about Nietzsche and Friedrich Nietzsche and Aristotle. That's what the word university means. It means one word, one verse, one speech. So going back to this, on CNN, September 8, 2002, the National Security Advisor, Condoleezza Godzilla Rice, infamously warned incorrectly, listen to that Saddam Hussein may be close to producing a nuclear weapon. When asked how close Saddam was to developing a nuclear capacity, Rice replied, "The problem here is that there will always be some uncertainty about how quickly he can acquire nuclear weapons. But we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud." Boom. As a push for action against Iraq, she added, "How long are we going to wait to deal with what is clearly a gathering threat against the United States, against our allies, and against his own region?" See that? That's chapter 16 and verse 14 in full effect, Doc. For they are the spirits of devils, meaning what? Slanderers, working miracles. The miracles is all the reports and the lies they were producing, right? Now, what's the purpose of these miracles? What's the purpose of the lies? What is the intention? What's the objective of the propaganda? It says it in the second half of verse 14. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, meaning they're directed at heads of states. Why? And of the whole world, that means the general population, to gather them to the battle of that great day of the Most High Almighty. So the Most High is the one using them to get the nations to operate, to make decisions off of these reports that will result in their commitment to go to war. All right, Nagaha? But we are to know that they are lying. We are to know that they are devils. Okay, briefly, this is the last thing before I cough up my final vocal cord tonight. Go to chapter 15, Tazapah, of Second Esdras. I want to just kind of address what you asked about, because this ties in. It might come across or appear as remotely related, but it isn't. It's just more intimately but subtly related. Like most people can't make the connection. Second Esdras chapter 15, and this is with respect to his comment and his question about the relationship, but geopolitical relationship between what's taking place in the world and the Canadian border. That issue, Yetazar. Go ahead and start off in chapter 15 and of Second Esdras and verse 14. You're going to read all the way down. Now I'm going to show you how it ties in. So we're going to read verses 14 to 20. All right, go ahead.
Second Esdras chapter 15 and verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein.
You know, woe means calamity, destruction, misery, distress. The Lord said that everybody's going to get it. Go ahead.
For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands.
Now, it haven't gotten to that yet. And you notice everyone that promotes it, all of the different alternative news sources that promote the protest, they always specify peaceful protest. Now, we know peaceful protests don't get nothing done. I don't care what nobody says. That's why I would never participate in it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't participate in no violent protests either. I'm waiting on Yahweh Shai. It tells you that in the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 8, wait therefore upon me until the day that I rise up to the prayer. And then Christ tells you, says, for my determination is to gather the nation together and to turn them against themselves. So that's what I'm waiting for. I ain't gonna be running around here marching for nobody. Running around and we're gonna tie up the strength. We're gonna, all right, fine, hey, knock yourself out. I'm going to work. That's the problem, people like you, you know. Then you can, no, I don't be complaining. I be teaching the Bible. I understand what we're in. These are the arguments that people be having when you're not active in their little thing. So it hasn't gotten to the level of intensity where swords are in these people's hands. But guess what? This is how you know it's talking about when it gets to the United States. Why do I say that? Because Canada, the Canadians are unarmed. The Australians that are protesting right now vigorously are unarmed. The New Zealanders, the Kiwis as they like to call them, are unarmed. Aside from the underworld in Britain, is not the British General Society unarmed, disarmed?
Yeah.
It's like that in Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, them people is armed to the teeth. They got public armories and shit like that. But Europe, please, brother, I'm talking Scandinavia is armed, but Europe is unarmed. Australia, unarmed. New Zealand, unarmed. Canada, unarmed. So when it says, and swords in their hands, this is clearly speaking about the most heavily armed population. Because if the Americans were not armed up, this shit that's taking place in Canada now, and in Australia, and in New Zealand will be taking place in the States right now. Right now, hold on, man. I got this alley cat out here. Oh, yeah. Y'all be any new? Okay, go ahead and read out verse 16.
Second Esdras chapter 15 and verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men.
Now, when it says sedition, the sedition is talking about from the general population, because the definition of a sedition is to rebel against the established authority. So this is where it's going to get to, Tazapa. Canada is like what? Canada is just the closest to the United States, but it's a precursor of things to come. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's a military official of Australia, and he called to action all of the military. You saw that, right?
He was talking serious, bro.
He kind of got slanted eyes, right? That dude.
It looks kind of Indian to me.
And well, you know what? I think he's he's one of the indigenous of that land. But he's like, we could lose our property. Yes, the property could be, we bought. We could lose our lives. What of it? We could be so-and-so, we could be in prison. What of it? But they're tired. but they're disarmed, so they can't do nothing but peacefully march. And the people in the United States, the different alternative media sources are wondering why the United States sleep, because they ain't hungry yet. Listen, this is what's going to get them out. Watch what the scriptures say. Read verse 16 once more on down over here to Zah.
Verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and availing one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes.
That means,
And the course of their actions shall stand in their power.
That means once the people do rise up and hold a sedition, this is what they're trying to call January 6th. January 6th was a damn peaceful protest against the stolen election. I guess all it wasn't nothing more, but look at what the media is doing. So there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. That means what? That means the time is going to come when the governments, municipal, federal, and otherwise, will hold no sway over the grand population. It says, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. That means the things that these millions of people set out to get done is going to happen. Go ahead, I'm going to get this out. Verse 17. This is now how bad it's going to get. So what we see happening in Canada is designed to escalate. It's going to escalate all over the world. Go ahead.
Verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able.
That's already taken place. This is what, listen. Now, see, I would have always thought that it was just going to be military curfews, but guess what? You ain't got no so-and-so Marcus Zoro passport. You can't go certain places. See that, Amayatazan? I would have never fathomed that this would be one of the mechanisms through which people would be what? Restrained from traveling. Because that's what it's talking about. It's talking about travel restriction. But now we're finding out many and creative are the means to keep people from exercising their right to travel. Go ahead.
Verse 18. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
Now, when it says because of the pride, it's talking about the pride of all of these empires, the pride of all of these Edomite nations and civilizations, right? But they're going to be in some great trouble. Now, why shall men be afraid? Why are the houses going to be destroyed? Verse 19.
Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
So that means these things, listen, these governments are not going back down. People, oh, we got them going now. You ain't got no government going nowhere. They're backtracking now. They ain't backtracking nowhere. Watch, listen, you got all the supply lines being destroyed. You got companies, manufacturers like Ford, eliminating off of their production line certain actual vehicles just because they can't get certain computer chips and things like that from overseas. You got all of these hundreds and thousands and millions of containers in those shipping tankers off the coast of California, off the coast of Washington, off the coast, the East Coast. That's going to create artificially, right? But nevertheless, still very real scarcity. People been going into supermarkets and seeing less and less food on the shelves. So this is what's going to take place. A man shall have no pity on his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. That means with weapons, and spoil their goods. That means take their belongings because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. That means no food and a whole lot of hell. And this is what Tazapah was taking place in Canada and that border. Because what took place is the mark of Zorro that the truckers refused to take resulted in Canadian truckers not being allowed to what? To come into the States and bring produce and different things back to Canada. Those on the state side that refused to take the mark of Zorro, they can't go into Canada. And Canada, America is like one of Canada's greatest exporters. Or I guess you could say Canada is one of America's greatest exporters. Or how do you say it? The Canadians import things that the United States export right there across the border, like all kind of food, all type of things. And so that's so that means what? Because they can't cross the border, guess what just got stymied? Guess what just got put a halt to? Commercial activity. Yes, Tazapal, mute yourself, please, brother.
Yeah, they got that going on. Also, the people that live in Canada are protesting too because they can't do anything without getting the mark of Zorro.
Well, that's the biggest protest. The biggest protest is from the Canadian people themselves. But what happened was the truckers decided to come in and use their influence, right, to put a halt to all government things. And what they're doing, they got them horns going 24 hours a day. So no, it's really bad. But let me say this, it haven't gotten as bad as it is in Australia and New Zealand, where they put it off the radar, but they started months ago already going to people's houses and taking them to concentration camps. I mean, yes, I do this. Put up what day, this all, it got, let me put it like this, it intensified when the Australian government took 25,000 youth to a stadium. That stadium that I think they had the Olympics in Sydney, and they forced marked them. I'm gonna put it like that. They force marked Tazapar. I got my code word for certain things because we're streaming on YouTube. It's called the mark of Zorro, right? Or your Super Bowl tickets. The Super Bowl tickets represent those pointy things. Anyway, the point is, go ahead, Amiyatazan.
I didn't say anything.
You sent it?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I wanted you to put on the screen, if you could find it, how the Australian government took 25,000 minors into that stadium and gave them the mark of Zorro.
Okay.
And so these are the things, Tazapar, that's taking place that's way more intense than Australia. I'm sorry, than Canada. But Canada is intense, but they're not being drug out of their homes now.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
But
now listen, now they just announced, the Canadian government just announced that they're going to now what? They're going to have police officers and everybody go out and just start arresting. And so the truckers and all the other people have decided to stay and called people out by the millions to where, and you know what, it's always way more civilians than military or law enforcement. Right? So they're gonna have to be forced to make that choice to shoot their own citizens, you know. But let me say this, and people think it won't get there, but it'll get there because these are the times we're living in now, you know.
Not because they said that they was calling they people in because the protest has become an occupation now, and people don't understand this because they've got that border blocked off in like 3 locations. They got the one in Detroit, they got the one in Montana, and then they got another one on the west coast of the country. Canada. But the one in Detroit, they said that 25% of food and products is coming from that, and that's pretty significant. Huh?
Yeah, brother, that's pretty significant is an understatement. 25%, shoot, brother. So watch what desperacy our people be driven to. Let me know. I'm gonna put it up if you find some. I'm gonna continue to read.
No, I couldn't find it.
You see that they already scraped it. You can't find it. Okay. Read once again verse 19, and then verse 20 shows us how this ties in with geopolitics. Go ahead, verse 19.
Verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation.
Go ahead.
Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me.
Now stop. This is all going on simultaneously. So while you have these conflicts domestically in each country, what is the Most High doing? He's fulfilling what we just read in Revelation chapter 9 and chapter 16. He's gathering together the kings of the earth. And that's why you be here. This is where the issue Nagahat between the Ukraine and Russia, right? And the details are being falsified on mainstream sources. So you have to confer to other sources. I'm gonna just put it like that because we're streaming on YouTube to be able to get what's really going down. Now, who saw the video the other day? 2 days ago, let me see. Monday, actually, might have been Monday or Tuesday, where Vladimir Putin came out and said it. Have y'all, can you take that link that you have on our Telegram feed and put it in the chat room, please, so they can watch that? They might not be, well, yeah, I think they can get it on this one. Vladimir Putin came out and said, listen, if you talking to NATO and the United States try to take Crimea, which is a section of eastern Ukraine by force, by military means, he let them know. He said, you're going to get hit. He said, it's going to go nuclear. And he says, you're not going to have time to blink your eye. He going to put it in the chat room. He said, there will be no winners. That's what he told them. There will be no winners. It's cold-blooded. Putin don't come out. He's never been the one in all of these decades to come out saber-rattling. This is serious. All right, he got in the chat room, so if you guys got it, you got to go get it. Okay, I'm gonna read verse 20 and we're done.
Verse 20. Behold,
verse
saith the Most,
20 and 21.
Behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south.
Rising of the sun is talking about from Japan, right? Japan is known as the land of the rising sun. Go ahead.
From the south.
Go ahead.
From the east, and Libanus.
Lebanon is Libanus. That's talking about Lebanon. That's talking about the whole Israel, Palestine, Syrian region, man. So it's talking about from all over the world, from the rising of the sun, from the south, from the east, and Libanus. To do what?
To turn themselves one against another and repay the things that they have done to them.
So all the things that they've been involved in, they have to pay for it. So this is taking place simultaneously while the domestic conflicts are beginning to what? Intensify. That's why I said they're related and not just remotely. Read on down, verse 21.
Verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen.
That means everywhere Israel is suffering under all of these parties mentioned. And whatever it is we're suffering, the Most High said he's going to get them for it. All of these nations, like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, go ahead.
So will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Thus saith the Lord power.
All right, we'll stop it there, y'all. Because I gotta be ready for tomorrow. I'm gonna have to my voice was a little better this evening, you know. So we'll get back to the Josephus next week. But thank you for that question, Naga, because that's really what's taking place. And you know, Dawa, the observation that you made, but these are the things that when Christ said, watch, be vigilant, this is what he's talking about. I can't believe it. Like I said, it's this late in the game. And our people, and when I say our people, I don't mean just Israelites in general. You know, those of us that's in the truth don't know the truth about these modern or these mainstream media sources. They're this bunch of propaganda and lies. And so the people hold, right, in an ill esteem many of the sources of information that they like to call conspiracy theory. Well, they hold in esteem those people the same way they hold us, the Israelites. Just like you got many sources of people that are supposedly teaching the Bible, and the one source that's teaching the truth, the whole world hands down hate us. That's how it is with respect to general geopolitical news. You got those accepted sources that people respect, and they lying. And all the other sources that are telling the truth, they're held in great disdain. It's the same thing. But then, go ahead, Ak.
Can you send that link again?
Put that link in there one more time, Mama Yetazah.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it, Doc.
All right.
Cool.
So I'm gonna there it is. Looking for my screen, you know what the hell happened? All right, brothers. So y'all have a good Sabbath class tomorrow. Nakaha, I see your hand up. You got a question, Naka? Did you was that when you wanted to put that get that link again?
Yeah, it's just for the link.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, brothers, y'all fight, man. Keep on fighting, keep on watching and praying out. And I'll see y'all. I'm and I will see you all next Friday. Y'all have a great Sabbath service tomorrow.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom, Akim.
All right, shalom, brothers.
Oh.